This recording is about 5 reports and a dashboard every HCM implementation should have. Now, the first report, and this actually doesn't really count as one, as you're seeing, I have a worklet on my home page that launches a list, first of all, categories of reports. This would be by role. And then when I click over here, I get to HR reports. And then further categorization. And then when I click over here, I'm getting to the reports that I want to show you. And the first report I will be showing you is an employee data report. Now, all of that clicking that I did is just a series of reports that are joined together, that report on reports. So these reports definitely you should be also creating to create some sort of menu path for end users to get to the reports that you reckon are cool. So as it's built on the data source custom reports I can run, so of course the user only sees those customer reports that they can run. It has this information, the custom report. See, it's shown as an executable. That's when I click on it and it launches it immediately. I'll show a brief description. The number of times executed is just a fun fact to put out there to have end users see how often these custom reports are run. Now, in the filter area, I filter by report tag whatever I want in this baseline HR report to appear. And the filter tag that I've used is core HR reports. So obviously these reports are stacked together. Now the first report, this client custom HCM report, is pretty much the same. I obviously have to pick it up now and to see, have a look at it, to view custom report. Custom report. And if I put it down here, you will see it's also based on that data source. What's different here, though, is that the output has been made as a worklet. So it's made as a worklet and put on home page. So this really makes it very easy for, you can put it on everyone's home page for them to find their custom reports. So once you've done all of that, you'll have a menu path like this, where you can click through, and then you have get to the baseline, HR reports. And now I am going to start with the first report that you should certainly have. It's an employee data report. And what it allows you to do, let's say you want to see everyone who's in human resources. Allows you to prompt an organization. Obviously here you see what kind of organization. So this is 2, right? I think this is a cost center here. I'm using the supervisory to select. Just want to see whoever's there. Now it's got a pretty cool thing, effective as of date. It's going to show me the employee data effective on this date. You can also backdate this to see what the data was like in the past. Now when I run this report, it's a basic employee list, obviously by no means complete. You will have a lot more fields over here. You should be putting in there 20 to 30 fields that you always are using. Don't go crazy and go 50, 60, 70, 100 fields. That goes nuts. Kind of keep to that so you have a reasonable performance on the report. A couple of things though, you'd all know this, but just as a refresher over here, once you get an output like this, you can actually, with this function here, turn around, adjust the list, right? So I can, if I want first employee name and then the ID, I apply this, and then we have a change over here, right? So now I have employee and the employee instance and the employee ID. Then, in the same way, if an end user want to see something like that, they don't want to see location, they can apply it. So these grid functions, of course, are configurable for the end user, which makes it a very useful report. But please note, it's obviously by end user, these preferences over here. And of course, you guys also know that if you can do all these filters over here. If you want to see everyone who's in HR ops. So I'm just showing you operations. That even though you render a list, there's a lot that the end user can do to come up with that set of data that they're actually looking for. Right. Now, how is this report defined? it is defined on all active and terminated workers. Now, I've specifically picked this data source because this data source allows me in the prompts to specify prompt for effective as of date. And so they're going to have an effective dated employee list report. The other thing is, obviously, we all know that this is our slowest data source and you should not be using this. You really use this sparingly. The idea is you're not running lists out of the system here that are thousands and thousands of records long, right? The idea of getting a list out of a system in Workday terms is you get a list of employees on which you want to act on. In other words, you probably go to related actions in the report and then execute an action on the employee. Then this is really just about all that you need to say over here. I mean, here's obviously all the data from Workday worker that I brought in here. Here's that report tag that allows that report to come up in that menu structure that I showed you. All right, so yeah, okay, right. I put a prompt in here, a prompt on organizational assignments or supervisory organization. So this obviously allows me to prompt by using the same prompt, and depending on whether you put a supervisory organization in, it's going to execute on here. And if you put like a cost center in, it's going to execute on this thing. So that's another trick in it. Let me check, make sure there's no other tricks around here. And oh yeah, of course, I was nice to the end user. Here's the prompt effective as of date. And I said determine at runtime and put in today. They can obviously change it, but at least you have a default there, as being rather polite and friendly to your end user. So there is your number one report, getting to the number two report, and I'm going to click through this a lot. The next report you would certainly want to have is changes on worker records. So what this report does is allows you to prompt by organizations and subordinate organizations. So it allows you to see all changes on worker records based on your prompts or on a worker, on a specific worker. Now I have saved myself here a filter, so I don't have to type it all in. Of course, you guys can type it in. So this is going to show me all changes on worker records that have been executed by the business process change jobs. It's going to include the subordinate organization and obviously anything successfully completed. And I want to put a date here. Anything that's been executed since 2016. I just want to get data, right? So I put this in over here. And this is the effective date of that change job. Now, what do you want to execute this? I'm seeing here the worker business process, the effective date, the worker, and I'm seeing job profile current and proposed. So these current and proposed fields are the ones that show you change on the worker record. So this worker on this date moved from a customer service rep to a training specialist. Okay, and then it obviously lists over here. Of course, if you can run this report in different ways. If you want to see all changes on Amber, right? Okay, I really easily should go to the worker profile, right? There's no reason I shouldn't go to the worker profile, and then check all the changes. Obviously, so that's the only change over here. But maybe you want to check changes on a number of workers that you've prompted over here. So you can prompt the number of workers and execute it and to see. Because really, over here, you ought to go to the worker profile, which is where you should be going for a lot of the data on employees or workers. Job, additional data, staffing history. Worker data history, so it's worker history. Now, obviously, I'm running on staffing events, so things like bonus and stuff aren't coming up. Yeah, so I'm not. This side I wouldn't have picked up. Yeah. Job history. This is the one that I picked up over here. The change from changing specialist. All right, again, just a comment on why do we generate lists out of a system is because we want to go over here and do something out here, right? It's not to download data and send it off to a third-party system or something like that, right? This is, remember, this is really in Workday terms why you ever want to have a list. Now, how did I define this report? It's I'm using the data source staffing activities. It's on the primary business object, worker business processes, right? So it goes on the worker business processes, and it brings back this information. As I said, the important pieces here are the effective date. So this is the date from which this change is effective. And then all of these current and proposed fields are showing you the changes. Now there's a boatload of these current and proposed fields on this primary business object that you can add to it. And so obviously you want to see what type of changes you're trying to track in your organization, you would add them over here. Just to note here as well, I am prompting by, I gave myself an easy one, easy pass here, but I am only listing where job profile current is not equal to proposed. So there's been an actual change, or location current is not location proposed. Same way, you should really add all of these other fields in there, right? Or base pay current is not equal to base pay proposed, and on and so forth. So you would add them all over here. Please note that it's and then and there's a bracket, and the rest are ors, right? They'll all be ors down here with the closing bracket at the bottom. And the filter on worker, there's a sub filter on, there's a sub filter on the worker business object to select the organization. Again, it's the assigned organization or supervisory organization with the same prompt, so that the supervisory will execute on here and a cost center will execute on there. And here is your report type. So there's your number 2 report that you should have in your implementation. Your number 3 report is getting to the area of analytics. So you obviously have a lot of headcount reporting in your organization, and this is a good report for that. So if I want to see all the headcount for Daryl Parker as the customer service manager, Daryl Parker, I'm picking supervisory. Here's the manager for consulting services. He wants to see what his headcount is. And here, you can also pick by worker types, right, to see contingent and employees. Okay, I'm not going to select over here. And here is the time series start and end date, right? So here, being on the same date, I get a headcount at the last day of this month. If I put in here 2018, I get a trend. Just to note that. Now let's execute on this report. And so here you see a couple of things, right? So here's the headcount, and here is the trend of Daryl Parker's headcount. This is the current month. And here you see a couple of cool things. Over here are facets, right? If you want to see, how many are project managers, you click over here and it filters down to see the project managers that he has in his organization. And it shows you the headcount and the FTE. Obviously, the FTE is based on their planned working hours. Then what you have in addition is you still have all these drill downs. I can see this by country to say these workers in different countries. Well, obviously, I think I'd very like to be on the current headcount doing that. Have a look at this by country, and if I want to know who this worker is in China, if I click on the number, I get the employee, the worker, the supervisory organization, and their manager. So if I need to talk to about Carl, I'll probably might get hold of Monica. Of course, you can always right-click and jump to the worker profile. So very useful report to show not only to headcount, it shows headcount trends, and it shows you the headcount and the FTE values, and it's got these faceted filters over here, which are really useful. Now, how did I define this report? Let me just open this up in a new tab to show you the different features. So it's based on our number 1 object that we use for all analytical reporting, and that's called trended workers. So you should have trended workers active in your organization. What it does, it indexes, takes worker headcount snapshots at the last day of the month, and it allows you to do this kind of trend reporting. Here, what I've simply done over here, here's a calculate field that rolls up the data by year, month, essentially because the snapshot is done with a record date, and the record date is the last day of the month. And what we're doing there is rolling up the record date. I'm doing it simply date format, changing that to a year, month, so that I can get what it looks like a monthly trend. So that's your group by field. Now here's the important pieces over here. I have an ending headcount and a total FTE. So these are figures that I have on this trended worker data source that I can use for headcount reporting and for FTE reporting. So these reflect these key figures here that I'm adding up. Then on the drill down, here you see my drillable fields. This allowed me to do that drill down by country. Remember when I did the country drill down, or on the headcount number. And here, when I clicked on the number to get the detail, here I have the detail of that employee. I would always recommend you put in the worker and the manager, because again, actionable insights. Either you act on the worker, or you need to talk to the worker's manager based on what your management action is. Then not much more over here, filter and prompt. A couple of things here, record type. I'm taking a snapshot. There's two types of data in here, snapshots and actions. We'll see what actions look like just now, activity at least. And then I'm just defaulting this into the last day of this month, just to default some values. And remember, I changed this to a year ago to get the trend. Now on the output side, I've done something pretty cool, is that your worklet options, I've actually made this available on mobile reports. This is such an easy and simple report that you can actually run it on a mobile device. And so I dropped it on mobile so that a manager can access their, if they're ever wondering what their headcount is and where they are, and do some simple actions, they can really run it with their mobile device. And this is the share piece. Now, so on trended workers, as I said, you really ought to have activated trended workers. It's done in two areas in your tenant. It's made or edit tenants setup, reporting, and analytics. So over here is enable workers trending. It needs to be on, and then maintain trended workers. And that is where you maintain the configuration for this. Yeah? So here's the configuration. Number of retroactive periods, it means it's always refreshing the last 3 months. The training period is year, month. We need these settings just like this. If you want to know why, ask your consultant. That's a pretty long explanation here. And just here's an interesting thing. It constantly refreshes this data. So it's constantly running a job that creates the snapshot for the last 3 months. It loads data from the worker object to get the snapshot for headcount at the end of the month, and it loads in any activity, not activity, but staffing activities that are on worker business processes. This is a background how this is all set up, but that gives you this extremely useful report to do headcount and FTE analytics. As I said, you should be doing all your analytics on your workforce on the trended worker. All right, so that's headcount. That's the one part of it. And I said there's 2 parts of it. The second piece of data, now we're coming to report number 4, I believe, by now. That is, you certainly need to be reporting about hires, terminations, and transfers. That's the other thing that you definitely should be reporting on. I'm just going to take global modern services, so the whole lot. Where is it? Well, I think where is it? There's obviously a lot of things called global modern services. I might just give up and just pick here we go. Pick everything below, and now I'm picking data from the beginning. The end date is the end of this month. I'm not going to get much data. I'm just going to put 2018 in here to see, for me to get some data. So Again, very similar look, right? I've taken the facets out. I don't think that's relevant anymore. Oh, I need to show you how the facets work, right, for the previous report. It's an advanced, here's under faceted options, you can put in those facets, right? So these facets over here are the ones that were available. Now, if I obviously can do the same on this report to activate facets, so you can do filters, say what of these activities are in what country. Anyway, so here you've got hires, you've got terminations, transfers in and transfer out. Same with the drill down. You can see business process reason and do not use. So I guess we should not use that and change it to something that's more useful. Same thing over here. And then when you click on the number again, of course, we get that to see what it is, right? What it's the hire, here are the hires, here are the dates, and here are the people who are hired. So this report, the definition of this report is uses the same data source, the trended worker, on the primary business object of trended workers. The difference is that down here, it's doing hire count, termination count, transfers and transfer out. And that in the prompts area, the record type is activity. And of course, as I was saying, I could add, if I want to add facets, I would change it over here to add a facet. And so I do a loop over here and add a facet in if I want to filter everything by country. So that's where your facet is. Location country seems good enough for me. Okay, and so now you'll have a facet to pick location country. So there's your report number 4. Now let's go to report number 5. And it gets all a little more interesting. It is also an analytic report and does something different. It does headcount again, you know? But it does it by organization. So when you execute this report, you have workforce progression by organization. Now, no, gosh, that's not the one I'm looking for. That is a complicated report. I want headcount trained by organization. That's what I'm looking for. Again, very similar. I can take Daryl Parker, and Daryl now wants to see not only the total number, but also wants to have an idea of where in his organization the headcount is. So you still got that prompt. You got your time series prompt over here. With that, your guess is in on trended worker. Now you have, it's just trending it by the 1, 2, 3 for the last 5 months. So Daryl can see that he's got 68, but the thing that's been added over here is you got this piece over here where you can open up his organization to see, you know, where this headcount's coming from, and it rolls the figures up, right? So that's really useful for you to find out, you know, where in your organization, to have that deep dive into your organizational hierarchy. Again, the same things are available over here. You can have a look at this by job family. Again, I would be doing on the current figures. You can do this by job family. That drill down still exists, and when you click on it, you still have that worker detail, worker, job family, and the workers manager. Now this report is a composite report that is based on a sub-report that's based on trended worker. Now, so composite reporting is really useful. 1, to do this kind of outlining, and 2, to do certain calculations. So there's a lot. You're going to have to take your course for composite reporting to figure out all of these pieces where everything goes together. But I'm going to show you the main things. 1, it's a control field. It's basically saying, well, it's saying we bring all the data together by organization. And here, that piece, that outline that you saw was this piece where I'm saying, give me a lookup data row, and it's doing organization in hierarchy global modern services, and use that workforce overview outline. And this outline structure is built on supervisory organization hierarchy. Dot, 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 dot. Hey, yeah, there we go. So it's on the business object of organization, the hierarchy is supervisory, and using global modern services, the top level now. And that allowed that that outline that does this piece over here. Now the data piece over here comes from the data, the data column. The data column brings data from this sub-report. And here are your prompts, and there's a sum of ending headcount. Now this sub-report is built on trended worker, you guessed it, and is feeding data to the composite report. So it's on supervisory organization. You got your ending headcount there, you have your prompts and all. And yeah, it brings in the ending headcount, and that's what brings in this number. Now, but what you've seen over here, here's the trend. Now, where does the trend come from? This is a repeat column group that I have to find on that column, which says I'm repeating by, the repeating field is months, yeah? So that's that calendar months in this sub-report. So here, this piece, months, is the sub-report. It is what I'm using for the drill across. Now, look, interesting, previously I showed you a format date. I like this one better. Also, what I like better is this is called CCFs. You should really be naming your calculator field with CCF. It sorts into the bottom when you do a drop-down list. Again, it's on trended worker, but it's a lookup date roll-up, yeah, and it's doing a year-month formatting on that. So there we go. That's where we have this composite report, which again, what I said, does the trend, it does the outline structure, and allows you all the drill down over here. There's also obviously a very useful report, not only for managers, but more for your business partners, if they want to explain to the organization what's really happening on the organization from a headcount point of view. Now, so there is our fifth report. And so I said 5 reports in a dashboard that are rather useful. Now I'll show you the dashboard, and to do that I'm going to have to go in as Daryl Parker. I'm going to start proxy over here. Daryl Parker, consulting manager, and he has access to a dashboard. It gives him high-level numbers, right, basically about his organization. And so it's under here, this worklet dashboards lists all dashboards that you have in the system, and it's called Executive HR Dashboard. So this executes fairly quickly and just does basic things, yeah. And so it tells Daryl this is his total headcount. And his total headcount is made up by these two organizations, consulting services and operations. In operations, as a single employee, and here he has the 69. He's the manager of these two. And so give him quick headline numbers. Obviously, what he can do is over here with drill down, he can have a look at this by country, right? So you can just do again this analysis to see what countries. Still, when you click on, you get the worker and the manager detail. But there's another nice trick over here, is that if you want to look, okay, I have 69 people in consulting services, what does it look like for the level below, right? So I have over here, trick down, a drill down called level below, and I'm going to obviously make that name nicer. That shows you, that 69, what's it made out of, right? And they are in these organizations, right? So it's Asia Pac, it's EMEA Group, North America, and here you have the 69. So it really is the manager view, right? So it says the manager, here's your number, and here's where it comes from below you, right? So below you, it comes from these two groups, organizations and consulting services. And it allows you to keep on stepping down through the organization, basically who reports to whom. It's probably a little bit more useful over here. Here we hires year-to-date report. Basically it tells Daryl people that has been hiring. See who has it been hiring as well. It's been hiring to consulting services, basically all consulting services, Latin America, consulting services, different areas, EMEA, and consulting services North America group. So his headcount being bumped up by 4, and this is where it's from. And here you have the same thing, leavers year to date. And you can see here, wow, he's reckoning, okay, there's a lot of people leaving over here. He would probably be talking to the manager of consulting services North America group, and obviously if he doesn't know where that is, you can obviously easily jump to the supervisor organization. Obviously, you would know who the manager is. But you could even just do again, like I said, that trick, the level below, and that steps down. Okay, where really, I mean, it's really this area, right? Consulting that's done the most levers, and so you might jump over here and say, hey, you know, who do I talk to? I need to talk to Anwar to figure out what's going on here, right? The manager role. So here's the role over here, manager of this is, oh, it's Dustin now. So I go to speak to Dustin to figure out, hey, I've got one person left, four left, what's going on in your organization? All right, so that's what I said, a really easy dashboard that gives the manager high-level numbers, right? And it gets you into the provide dashboard game. Now, how does this all define? Stop proxy. Now, it's basically done by the normal configuration for dashboards. Now, the way you're going to see it on my screen is a little advanced because I have a preview tenant, but you'll probably, which means I have the newer features for dashboard definition. So if I go here, maintain dashboards, you'll see that's probably cool for this video because it has a longer lifetime. Executive, HR, and dashboard. And so when you see over here, you can see this is the new configuration screen. You can see we're talking about tabs here already. And so when I edit this dashboard, I see here I have the main page, and I have these worklets. Headcount current month, hires year to date, and leavers year to date. This is really, I mean, everything else about this dashboard is standard, but here are these reports that we've defined. Now, they're all run of trended workers, but they have no prompts or anything. The cool thing is trended workers will automatically limit the results of the report to what the user is able to execute. So what I've got over here, I've got this cool lookup field called level below, right? And it's got the option start at first level with multiple organization. Basically what it does is execute the report for the manager and then shows the manager the supervisor organization below that are responsible for the numbers. And that's where I could get that that look. Yeah. And then again, I'm adding up ending headcount. My data source filter is default filter. I said I'm going to let the system decide what data a manager can see. Now, this level below is a lookup hierarchy that looks up on the supervisory organization and just shows, does this lookup. The trick over here is with start at first level with multiple organization. And basically, as I said, shows you, shows the manager for the organization below. And this current month, of course, would be a prompt. I do obviously have to come up with some prompts and time series start and end date, but last day of this month. So it executes the last day of this month. And so I've got hires and leavers over here. Same data source, trended workers, same level below piece, except now I'm doing a hire count. And on my prompts, I'm using last day of this month, and I cheated a little bit to get data over here. So you put your start date prompt here. Actually, you should do it for the first day of this month. Yeah. First day of this year to the last day of this month. Kind of gives the manager sort of the year-to-date view, which is probably what they're interested in. And finally, terminations looks exactly the same here, except I would have added terminations over here. I'm not going to click through that. So there you go. As I said, these are 5 reports, in my opinion, every HR implementation should have, and a dashboard every implementation should have. And what you've done is provided a lot of reporting for your HR community and your managers. You've done a mobile report. Remember, we deployed the one report to mobile device. We've done a dashboard as well for a manager. and that's also accessible by from a mobile device. What you've also gone through is the most important objects on which you are writing reports on. So it's, okay, all active and terminated workers, the business processes, and trended worker. I mean, those are your main objects. Okay, well, I sure hope you have found this content to be useful.